let's get into some coding with Neo4j. So we're going to write a really quick app, again with Node.js, with a bare bones front end that's going to talk to a Node server that's going to query Neo4j. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to pop over to your terminal here. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to make a new directory with Neo4j sample. Remember that there is that db samples repo. There's a link in the course notes for you to pop on over there. Neo4j sample. And here we're going to say npm init-y. And we're going to say npm install express at 4.17.1 and Neo4j-driver at 4.1.2. That'll take a second to install. We got all those installed. Make a directory. We'll make a directory called static. And here we're going to touch static/index.html and server.js. And then we'll open this in Visual Studio Code. Okay, make that full screen here. Let's go ahead and make our index.html here. So I'm going to put HTML:5 and hit tab. That's emit, right? That expand this out to a full device. We'll call the title Neo4j sample. And then in here, we're going to put two inputs. What our app is going to do is it's going to take two people and it's going to tell us the shortest path between these two people of how they're connected in movies. Okay, so we're going to have input type equals text. Then we'll have this be placeholder equals person1 and ID equals person1. We'll copy that line here and make this person2. Then we'll have an ID of button btn. So a button with the ID of button, and that will be search. And then we'll do our pre-code thing here again, pre-code. And this will have an ID of code. Okay, so that's all the HTML that we need right there. Two inputs, a button, and a pre-formatted code block. Underneath that, we're going to put a script tag. And in here, we're going to have get our const btn equals document.get element by ID, btn. And we'll do this 4 times here. This one will be code. This one will be person1, and person2, and person2. Okay. We're going to add an event listener on the button, so btn.add event listener on click. We will run this async function. So first thing we're going to say is code.inner equals loading. Inner text, that is. Inner text equals loading. And then we're going to say const res equals await.fetch. And we're going to search for, or rather we're going to hit await space fetch, rather. And we're going to go hit the get URL and question mark. Let's just do this with the template string actually. So I'm going to do backticks here, /get, and we're going to say question mark person1 equals person1 dot value, right? Oh, we have to do encode URI as well. Encode URI component so that it can fit into a URL. I'm going to say person1 dot value and person2 equals same thing here. Encode URI component person2 dot value. Underneath that, we'll say const JSON equals await res.json. And lastly, code.inner text equals new line plus json.stringify json null and 4. So this is just going to go get out to our API that we're about to write. It's going to go fetch that data. It's going to then put that into a JSON object. Then we're going to use JSON stringify to put that into a nicely formatted response that we can just look at. All right, let's go open our server file now. Const express equals require express. Const Neo4j equals require Neo4j driver. Const connection string. Again, we would normally feed this in through some sort of key management system, but today we're just going to say bolt : // Bolt is the name of the protocol that Neo4j uses. Instead of HTTP, it uses one called bolt. Localhost, and the port that that listens on is 7687. You can configure that, but by default, that's the one that it uses. Const driver equals Neo4j dot driver, and you have to give it that connection string. Okay, async function init, and then we'll immediately call that init function underneath here. And let's set this to be indent using spaces 2. Okay, const session equals driver.session. This is how you kind of acquire a new session with the driver. Oh, I'm too far into this. What I want first is const app equals express, like that. So now we have an app. Here we're going to say app.get /get async rec and res. Here's where we're going to acquire a new session. So again, Neo4j is going to manage a pool of connections for you. This is how you get a session to interact with Neo4j. So you're going to say const session equals driver.session. Const result equals await session dot run. And then here, this is where we're going to give it our query that we want to send, the cipher that we want to send. So let's do it this way. We'll put backticks here, and then I want to just put this in here so it's nicely formatted. The nice thing about Neo4j is it doesn't care about white space. So we're actually going to go use that same query that we were using before to match people, how far away are they from Kevin Bacon, but we're going to genericize it a little bit. Is genericize a word? Because it is now. Match path equals, sounds like jazzercise. Sometimes I entertain myself. Okay, shortest path. And here we're going to say first person is going to be first : person name. And we have the same problem here that we had with SQL, that we need to be careful of what text we feed into here. So cipher injection is a real thing here as well. So we're going to say $person 1, and then we'll provide that in as a parameterized query. Okay, then we're going to put dash here, and we're going to put our star, and then dash here, and we don't want the angle bracket. Second person, and then here, we don't want that. Second person, name, colon, $ person 2. Okay. Then here we're going to say unwind nodes path as node. I'm going to say return coalesce node.name node.title as whatever you want to call it in the return. We'll just call it text here. Okay. So that's going to be our query. Now we have to give it the parameters that it needs. So for person1, we're going to give it rec.query.person1, and person2 will be rec.query.person2. Again, I just want to really underscore this fact again. Do not directly just put person1 in here, because they could put cipher querying language in there, and you would be in a world of hurt. So just let the Neo4j driver do all that stuff for you. The Neo4j driver is made by them with help from the community, and so they know very well how to prevent these kind of injection attacks. Okay, so now we'll get a result back. Result will be a query result. You can see that here. So what I'm going to do underneath this session.run is I'm going to say res.json status OK, and path colon results dot records. Ooh, don't do that. Results dot records dot map, and then we're just going to do a quick map here to do say record return record dot get text. So what are we doing here? This actually gives you back a record object, and it has like functions and things like that. What we want to do is we just want to get the text out of it. So that's why we're going to just go through and we're going to call record.getText on each one of these records. And then path here will just be an array of the text that we got back from Neo4j. So we have to massage the data a little bit. We can't just return it raw. And then here we'll just call end. Then down here at the bottom, you'll say await session dot close, because you have to tell the session, it's like, all right, I'm done. You can reuse this connection again. And then we'll say app or const port equals 3000, app dot use express dot static dot slash static, and app dot listen process. Oh yeah, we'll just say port. And then console.log listening on http://localhost: plus port. All right, that should be everything that we need to get our, this says results. I messed this up, so you can see here on line 13 and line 26. I called this results and this results, so I'm going to put an S there so that these are called the same thing on line 26 and line 13. Okay, now I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to come to my terminal and I'm going to say node server.js, listening on port 3000. I'm going to open that. So I got person1 and person2 up here. So let's put Charlize Theron and put Keanu Reeves. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up now. So we got an error here. Let's see what would happen. Expected parameter person1. So here in our index.html, I forgot this equal signs here. So line 25, get person1 equals that, and person2 equals that. Okay, just gotta make sure you get this URL right. I knew that because I was looking here and it says I was expecting a parameter person1, so I looked over here in server, and you can see here is like I should be passing that in, so it means that that was definitely coming in undefined. So I should be able to just refresh this page and send it, and there we go. So Charlize Theron and Keanu Reeves were both the devil's advocates, so that's less interesting. So let's say Charlize Theron and Tom Hanks. Well, they were both in That Thing You Do. That's, again, less interesting. How about Keanu Reeves and Tom Hanks? There you go. So Keanu Reeves was in The Replacements, Jessica Thompson was in Cloud Atlas, and then Tom Hanks was also in Cloud Atlas with Jessica Thompson.